Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy, MadridistaFitz, home of Real Madrid's 11th best YouTube channel. We are by far the poorest
that
channel,
brother's
but
starving.
we got a lot of heart, baby. And I'm here to give you a World Cup update. We're going to go over some more transfer rumors with Real Madrid, what's going on there. And then we're going to continue to go over the Barcelona Julian Alvarez saga. It continues today. A little bit more updates, nothing crazy, but there's a very good game going on right now as I speak. The Mexico and England, Great Britain, who cares about them over the 4th of July weekend? I'm admittedly the biggest Jude Bellingham glazer on the planet. I do not like the English national team simply because I'm an American, but Jude Bellingham is, contrary to what Barcelona fans have said, is having quite a good World Cup himself. A quantifiable World Cup. He just banged in his third goal and he had an assist. I saw that bum Anthony Gordon is playing for England tonight. He's actually looked pretty threatening. He's had a few good crosses. He surely will have the Lamine Yamal 0-0 stat line, but we'll see. I hope he proves me wrong too. 80 million euros for that cat. That's a fucking madness from Barcelona, but we'll continue with my World Cup update. There has been some incredible games this World Cup, and this is shaping up to be one of the best World Cups ever. I don't really care who wins at this point as long as it's not FC Barcelona, aka Spain. But man, these games just keep on getting better and better and better, except for one that took place yesterday, which I'll start off with first. Boy, yesterday was a hard game to watch in general. The France moves on in an eyesore of a game. Now, football's always been called the beautiful game. It's always been called one of the most elegant sports to watch. Not by all. There's, of course, some haters. In America, it's certainly changing. People now are starting to respect soccer way more than in the past. There was a recent poll by The Economist that came out saying soccer was the third most popular sport passing baseball among fans in the United States. Now, a part of the reason for that is soccer is such a beautiful game. Now, you would never have known that from what took place in the France versus Paraguay game yesterday. Holy shit, was that hard to watch. It was an absolute madness. You could say, and you know what? I appreciate scumbagging your way to a victory. Real Madrid's had to do this against some of the better sides in Europe because we certainly haven't been good enough to play with them straight up. There is, what they call parking the bus, putting 10 men behind a ball, putting 11 men behind a ball. There is haram ball where you are employing the dark arts, fouling people. Everyone's getting a yellow card. You're denying pretty much any build up from the other team. You're not really trying to play football. You're trying to not lose. That's pretty much what Paraguay was doing yesterday. There was no semblance of them trying to go forward or them trying to attack with any real tactical prowess or grace. Whenever they got the ball back, they pretty much passed it to their striker up top, who tried dribbling 1v5 against the entire France defense because they were afraid to push anyone forward and get caught up on the break. And it made for a very frustrating day for France. Now, I do employ a good parking the bus strategy. That's for goddamn sure. I hope Real Madrid employs that next year against Barcelona and we catch them on the break and expose their diabolically high line, which is just tactical suicide. Every major team in Europe explodes that high line, except for us, because we are completely incompetent at football. But if you look at Barcelona last year, every team exposed them that they played. Any big boy side, including PSG, including Atletico Madrid, really exposed them. They actually pulled down their pants and spanked them a few times. We even beat them once. But moving on from that, getting back to this game, is I do enjoy a good parking of the bus, that is for sure. But man, there was some really, really, really dark stuff in this game from this Paraguay side, which it was incredible that Paraguay was not awarded any yellow cards by the referee. It was an absolute madness. Now, I have a stat here on the bottom. I've been accused of being a stat whore, that's for sure. But Paraguay committed 13 fouls to France's 11 fouls during this game. It felt like a lot more because it seemed like Paraguay's entire mission was whenever Elise got the ball to just foul the shit out of him. It's very hard to play, when you're getting fouled completely. Now, Elise and no one on France had a great game. Elise pulled the Lamine Yamal double zeros, no goals, no assists. But at the end of the day, it's very hard when you have a team employing the dark arts of football to the maximum degree. They were fouling people at every occasion. They were slapping players openly. This happened not once but twice in the game. They slapped Kylian Mbappe when he was trying to make a run. Now, did Kylian Mbappe fall over like a little puss? Absolutely. I will admit that every day of the week. I do not condone Kylian Mbappe's behavior in this game either, which I'll get into in a minute. He was a little bit of a poor sport at the end of the game. That's for goddamn sure. But so you had a Paraguay player slapping Kylian Mbappe. You had another Paraguay player really slapping Jules Koundé, which I appreciate because he's a Barcelona bum. Slap the shit out of him. But at the end of the game, if you're a ref, and there's one more picture. The Mbappe slap is up in this. If you see this picture in the left-hand corner, he barely grazed him, but Mbappe, fell over like he got shot by a AK-47 or shot by a sniper. That's kind of typical Mbappe behavior sometimes. I'll willingly admit that. And then you had Jules Koundé. You can see this other picture up here to the right on this slide. We do have the best slides on YouTube. That's undeniable. But there is Jules Koundé got slapped right in the face. They didn't give a card for that. No cards. And then even when Doué came in and he had an excellent dribble into the box, beating 2 or 3 players, making an instant impact in the game. He drew the foul, the penalty, and even before that penalty, these dirty ass Paraguayan players were stomping on the penalty spot to try to ruffle the grass. It was just some of the darkest of dark arts you will see. They didn't get awarded a penalty for that. You saw Paraguay players fouling these French players and standing over them and taunting them. You didn't see any yellow cards for that. Now, I just don't think the ref wanted France to win this game. He didn't want it to be fair on every level. And France they fouled 11 times and they got 3 yellow cards. It was a madness. I think even if a guy on Paraguay would have pulled out a 9mm and shot Mbappe right in the fucking skull, they maybe would have got a yellow card infraction for that. But this is this is the World Cup. We've enjoyed some beautiful football. We've enjoyed some great displays by France. We've enjoyed some of the best football you'll see. There's a great game going on right now with England and Mexico 2-1 at half. It's been incredible stuff to watch. Now, the stuff yesterday, it just doesn't belong in football. It doesn't belong at the World Cup. At least try to win a game. There is one thing called tactically parking a bus. I do agree with that, but when you start to pull out the darkest of dark art stuff, that's where I kind of don't enjoy it so much. But you know what, Paraguay, I'll just say it, hats off to them. Maybe they thought that's the only way they could have beaten France. If you want to employ that strategy, they stuck to their guns. I give them that. They didn't try changing their tactical strategy the entire game. Even when they went down a goal, they didn't really push forward. Mbappe had a chance to score a couple times in this game. He had a bit of a stinker today. I'm a dude that will admit, when a guy has a stinker, even if he is a Real Madrid player, he did not have the best of games. He did do something which was very hard to do, which is score a penalty, which I'll get into in a minute. Scoring a penalty is extremely difficult. Now, on my channel, I will always stand by that. I stand by the fact that all goals are created equal. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter if you dribble past 3, 4, 5 players. You try to do what Lamine Yamal's been trying to do, dribble past every player. Now, Mbappe actually scores goals. Lamine Yamal does not do that, but those goals where you dribble past 4 or 5 players count as one. The goals you bang in from outside the box, 30, 40 yards, they count as one. And when you shoot at the penalty spot, which is extremely difficult because you see players in this World Cup miss them all the time, that counts as one. And we'll get into that in a second because actually a penalty became a very big thing in the theme of today's game. And I'm not going to go over every World Cup game. This is a Real Madrid channel. I'm really going to be talking about the big superstars on Real Madrid and where they're at in their World Cups. But France moves on, and we will see they're playing Morocco next round. I'll get into that in a different video, but that will be an absolute banger of a game. This is the real first test that France had. Did they pass it? Maybe a gentleman's B+, maybe a gentleman's B-. It is extremely hard to break down 10 men behind the ball, employing some of the darkest of art. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see where France continues. But Mbappe is up to 7 goals and 2 assists in this World Cup. His performance certainly is up there with the best in the sport. You could say the cream is rising to the top where the best players in the world are actually performing. And 2 or 3 of them are Real Madrid players are having an excellent World Cup. If you go beyond the eye test, you look at statistical, empirical facts. Mbappe has 7 goals and 2 assists. Vinicius Jr., I believe, had 4 goals in this World Cup, or maybe 5. I think it was 4. I'll get into him in a minute. There was a big shocker today. And then Jude Bellingham, where I'm watching the game right now, has just banged in his third goal and has an assist to go with it. These are all better than you'll see any Barcelona player at the current tournament doing. That's just statistical facts. That's beyond the subjective eye test. And I talked about that a lot in my previous video if you want to hop on my channel and get into that one. But there was another game today that, man, this was a little bit of a shocking results. Bye-bye Brazil. I entitled this Bye-bye Brazil, and Vinny, it's time to come home and sign a contract, my dude. We still love you at Real Madrid. We want you to be a Real Madrid player, but man, I'm not going to lie. I didn't have much faith in this Brazil team, and Vinny's been playing excellent. I want this Vinny, I want this Mbappe to be playing at Real Madrid. Maybe they'll never coexist together. It's hard for me to say, you know, do I like one better than the other? I love them both because they both play for Real Madrid now. Can we make it work with them? Who knows? Do I care which one leaves? I do not. I really don't. If they get rid of Vinny tomorrow and it makes Mbappe better, great. If they get rid of Mbappe tomorrow and it makes Vinny better and we start winning games, great. I do not care. But Vinny is going home. This Brazil team is going home. There was some very sad scenes at the end of this game, admittedly so, by the Brazilian players, you know, including Neymar. He lost his mind a little bit on the penalty spot. I do not know what was going on with him or what business he had any to complain or go crazy. I'm glad he scored a goal, I guess. It was a very, I won't say shameful way. I guess there was a few end of the game displays, which, just going back real quick, sorry, I meant to touch on this real quick. I do not approve of some of the shameful behavior. I don't approve of what Neymar was doing at the end of the game, kind of jawing at the keeper for no goddamn reason. The Norway keeper had a great game. And then I don't approve of Mbappe's behavior at the end of the Paraguay game either. Him ignoring keeper's handshake. Now, the keeper did throw the ball at him after the game, which was quite hilarious. But be a better sport, Mbappe. You're a great player. Don't buy into this dictator attitude. Maybe he really is that way. Who the hell knows? But he should have shook the opposing players' hands and at the end of the game, especially their goalkeeper on Paraguay, because he had an excellent game. And same with this situation here. The best player on Norway, you could say, was Haaland, maybe, but I would say Norway's goalkeeper had an incredible game because he blocked the penalty. He blocked a couple other opportunities, including one late at the game. And Neymar, why the hell are you losing your fucking mind at the end of the game? I know Brazil's about to go out, but you're at the penalty spot. You're gibbering and jabbering, and then after you score your penalty, you're just losing your mind when you should be grabbing the ball and running back and trying to score another goal. And it was sad way for I will say a legend of this game to go out, Neymar. Neymar is an incredible player. Like, I don't think people realize how good Neymar was in his prime. Now, we have players today, like, and I'll compare these two. I have in my last video some really great players. I'm not going to say who's better. I'm not going to upset anyone on my channel that watches these videos. Enlise and Yamal. These two are very comparable players. They have a similar Yamal too, a very similar style to Neymar. You could tell Yamal was probably binging on Neymar highlights. Now, if you look at what guys like Elise and Yamal were doing over the club season, they had some great club seasons. I could get into their stats. They were banging in. I think Yamal had 15 goals in the club year, and maybe it was 14 assists, something like that. I know Elise for sure had 20 assists. It's a madness. They put up some of the craziest stats on the club level and in this World Cup. Yamal not so much, but Elise has been putting up some crazy stats. These guys couldn't sniff Neymar's jockstrap in his prime. That guy was fucking incredible. I say that, and he was a Barcelona bum too. Neymar around 2014, 2015, there was no player except Lionel Messi that was better than this cat. He really was the prince that was never crowned because he lived in the era of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. So for Neymar to go out this way, I would say it doesn't acquit him being a legend of the game, gibbering and jabbering at the keeper. And then, of course, he cried like a little baby at the end. Of course, it's an emotional moment for him. And you would have liked to see Brazil play better. Now, getting into the game, I don't understand what Brazil was really trying to do in this one. You could tell they were playing for the counterattack. I don't know why they really feared Norway a lot in this game. They feared what the damage they could do to him, and they sat back a lot, Brazil. They didn't really put any high pressure on Norway when they got the ball. They kind of just sat back in a shell and were kind of baiting them to go forward and trying to catch them in the counterattack. Now, they did have their opportunities. They did get a penalty, which, going back to this, scoring a penalty is extremely difficult. I don't not know why they didn't let Vinny take the penalty. I can tell you, as a Real Madrid fan, I've seen Vinny miss plenty of penalties. Now, you could see in the previous game, Mbappe buried his penalty. That's one thing he is very good at, is burying penalties. He does not miss a lot of penalties. Now, I don't know who the hell was the dude that took the penalty for Brazil, but man, they wish they could have that one back. Could you imagine how much different the outcome of that game would have been if Brazil would have sank that penalty, and then Norway would have really had to push forward? Maybe Brazil could have exposed them on the counterattack, but eventually Erling Haaland, and I'll bring up another interesting point about this, about the impact a player can have on a game without touching the ball a lot. Now, Erling Haaland did score a goal, and Brazil did have their opportunity, and what a stinker of a game from a Real Madrid guy. I'll call him out right now, Endrick. He's a very young cat. He has a lot to learn, but Endrick came in the game, and Vinny gave him an excellent pass going forward, and you could see Endrick, he took a bad first touch, and then instead of trying to shoot it off of his right foot, he tried to readjust himself and shoot on his left foot, dominant foot, and that didn't pan out for him. He missed he was one-on-one with the keeper. He should have made a better effort than that, but he really had a stinker on that one. And then on the first goal from Haaland, shortly after that, Endrick was defending on the side, and he let the cross pretty much go in, a free cross without any defense. He played some shambolic defense, so he had a real stinker of a game for I'll admit that, for a Real Madrid player. But going back to what I was just talking about a second ago, the impact a player can have on the game without touching the ball a lot. And I do stand behind this. There are Barcelona fans that measure matrix by the player's performance by the eye test. Now, if your eye test is, players that are zooming around the field, beating players down the field, maybe dribbling past a player or two, doing a madness, doing all the skills in the world, which certainly Lamine Yamal can do that. That is in his bag. He is one of the best dribblers you will ever see of a football, and he certainly will make some players look silly on the field. Now, at the end of the day, there's nothing quantifiable about his performance. There's nothing you can say. He's not banging in goals. He's not getting assists. Now, think about all the effort that you can do. You can huff and puff the entire game and dribble past one or two players, make them look silly, lose it. You can dribble past a player, take as many shots as you can, and score a ton of almost goals, if that's a thing. We've heard this from Barcelona fans. Almost scoring goals counts for Lamine Yamal's performances in the World Cup. But at the end of the day, I'm so impressed with Haaland, because you don't have to do all that. You can literally touch the ball 30 times and score twice. And at the end of the day, the most important thing you can do in a soccer match is bang in a goal. That's just facts. How you win the game is by scoring goals. And Haaland does that better than almost everyone on the planet. He is now tied with Messi, who still is a game in hand, by the way. Messi still has to do his round of 16 game. So he surely will score again, because he's a freak. He's an alien. He's the best player in the world. But Haaland is level with Messi. He's leveled with Kylian Mbappe. This guy definitely has to be in the conversation as the best player in the world, and maybe even a Ballon d'Or candidate for the way that he's acquitting himself in this World Cup tournament. It's incredible. Oh, England almost scored again. It's incredible what he's doing with such little touches on the ball. And that's the thing, is you can be an effective player and not touch the ball. I had a buddy text me during the game saying Brazil has completely neutralized Haaland. Well, you can for a certain period of time, but it only takes one touch of the ball for a player to completely change the outcome of the game. And that's what he did with his header. And then his second goal was excellent too. He didn't have to take 100 touches on the ball. He didn't have to do 30 step overs. He didn't have to dribble around 3 or 4 players. He trapped the ball, took one touch of it, lined up his shot, and banged one in the back of the net. That's being an excellent soccer player. That's having an empirical impact on the game. That's the bottom line, is you have to score goals to have a profound effect on the game. And that leads me all back to, I know I have some Barcelona followers. I love talking about Barcelona. That leads me back to the Barcelona princess himself, Lamine Yamal. What will we see from this young man in this tournament? Will we ever see any empirical evidence, any statistical impact from this guy? Who knows? I mean, I hope so. We haven't seen it yet. Now, Barcelona fans will continue to clamor that this guy is absolutely tearing it up there. He is right now the lord of the double zeros. That's, if you close your eyes, everyone in this video watching right now, close your eyes. What do you see? It's the great nothingness from the never-ending story that will come and eventually kill you. It is not. He's collecting double zeros like infinity stones. That's what he does. It's 0 goals, 0 assists. That's what he's done in this World Cup, except he banged one in against poor Saudi Arabia. Now, this is Spain's biggest test. They're playing against Portugal. Portugal has a very good team. I don't know the last time these guys played off top of my head, but I do recall they played in the Nations League's final, and Portugal did end up beating Lamine Yamal, the Barcelona princess, who had quite a quiet game, and he's had a quiet tournament so far, objectively speaking, not by going by the subjective eye test, which I hear a lot of Barcelona fans say, oh, but on the eyes, he's having a great game now. It really comes down to what version of Lamine Yamal we're going to get. I've said this guy looks exactly like Ruth from Ozarks. If you've never seen that show, I'll put a picture. That's him. He could be dating. Actually, no, he wouldn't date this girl because it looks exactly like his sister, but he looks exactly like Ruth from Ozarks. And I do think we have a little bit of imposter syndrome going. I think that Ruth from Ozarks has actually been starring for the Spanish national team. I do not think it's been Lamine Yamal. I think he's been abducted somewhere, and we have Ruth, the curly-headed fuck from Ozarks, that has been starring in his place. Now, will we see the real Lamine Yamal tomorrow, or are we having more glaze maxing loading? That's what I'm going to call it from now on with Barcelona fans. We're calling it glaze maxing. They will glaze the most minuscule things that Lamine Yamal will do. These almost goals, he's almost scored 3 goals, will be the most impactful thing that you ever see. We're not celebrating goals. We're not celebrating assists. We're celebrating almost achievements with Lamine Yamal. So will more glaze maxing be loaded tomorrow? If Spain ends up winning and Lamine Yamal doesn't bang in a goal, doesn't bang in an assist, will we get more glaze maxing? Surely. But here's what I foresee happening. Now, I really hope this doesn't happen because I would love for Portugal to win. I am actively rooting against the FC Barcelona Spanish national team. Now, what I think will happen is I think that finally Lamine Yamal, who's been abducted, will be returned. I think the Ruth from Ozarks will no longer be playing for Barcelona, and I think Lamine Yamal is going to have a hell of a game tomorrow. I'm calling that right now. I've been thinking this for a while. I've been waiting for him to kind of do something in the World Cup, something of empirical evidence, something of facts, something that's not the almost, something that actually occurs. And I think tomorrow will be it. This guy is, I have admitted this on my channel multiple times. Holy crap, there was a red card in this game against somebody. It might have been an England player. Sorry, I'm giving a live update right now, but yeah, England players going home. Wow, this is turning into an excellent game. I think Mexico is going to get back in this one. But back to Lamine Yamal, he is an incredible player. I do rate Lamine Yamal very high. I have called him the best player in the world. Now, I certainly don't think he is right now. He sure as hell isn't playing like it. But I do rate him very high. He is incredible. On his best day, he can change the face of a game. He can do stuff that no other player can do on planet Earth. That's just facts. His ability to dribble is bar none. I could see him taking the ball and dribbling past 5 guys and scoring a goal. He has that in his bag. It's terrifying. Now, I really do expect Lamine Yamal to have a terrific game tomorrow. I'm calling it right now. I think he'll have a goal and maybe an assist. Or if not, both, he'll have one or the other. I think he's going to be the leading force in Spain tomorrow because he's probably sick of all these pussies, these internet trolls like myself, trolling on his ass. And what's what I do. I am a bit of a troll. And you know what? I'm kind of rooting for the kid. I couldn't imagine being 18 years old and having all that pressure on your feet. The weight and expectations of an entire nation are on an 18-year-old kid. What do you think, Sawyer? It's my dog back there. He's almost as old as me, which is old as dirt. But I couldn't imagine having all that pressure on your shoulders at 18 years old. And I hope he has a good game. Now, I hope Spain loses. That's for goddamn sure. We'll see what happens with Cristiano Ronaldo. That will be interesting. Are they going to play him? I love Cristiano Ronaldo. He's my favorite Real Madrid player of all time. A game's all-time great. I do think he's the second best player ever to play the game, and his impact on the game has been, it's almost silly how much numbers he's put up when it comes to Champions Leagues and goals that he scored. He's going to finish his career with 1,000 goals, which is incredible. Now, in his current state and what he can bring to the national team, I do think it would behoove them to play their backup forward. If not start him, play him in significant minutes in the second half, especially if they go down a goal and Lamine Yamal is on fire. Now, one thing I will talk about, and I will say Lamine Yamal can really announce himself as the best player of the world, because he is going up against Nuno Mendes, and that is no chore. Nuno Mendes could be classified as the greatest striker, or not striker, the greatest fullback on planet Earth. He could be classified as the greatest player on planet Earth. If you look at Lamine Yamal's history playing against Nuno Mendes, he's had a few good moments against him. Of course, Lamine Yamal can dribble past any player, that's for sure. But I'm pretty damn sure Lamine Yamal has not scored a goal against PSG, nor has he scored a goal against Portugal or an assist. I could be wrong about that. That's for sure. I do expect that to change tomorrow. I might not be up for the game. I do currently work on mid shifts, so that stinks for me, but we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for the Barcelona princess. I hope the imposter Ruth from Ozarks leaves, and I think he's going to have a very nice game. You're hearing it first from a Real Madrid fan, home of Real Madrid's 11th best YouTube channel. That's MadridistaFitz. And lastly, I'll just discuss a little bit of transfer news from Real Madrid and on the Barcelona front, since this is turning really into a Real Madrid and Barcelona channel, even though I fucking hate Barcelona. I have been accused of and a buddy said I have Stockholm syndrome with Lamine Yamal. Maybe that's why I'm empathizing with him. You empathize with your captor. Lamine Yamal has been the vein of my existence. That's for goddamn sure. I have nightmares about the kid. So maybe I've been tortured and beaten by this guy so long, and he's caused so much detriment in my life and detriment to Real Madrid that I'm starting to identify with my captor. Who the hell knows what's going on there, but I think he's going to have a good game tomorrow. But moving on to Real Madrid transfer news. So it's been very quiet on the Real Madrid front. I'll just get into two of these categories. Is one thing that came out is we categorically denied interest in Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez, which thank God. This guy, I've heard the price tag on this dude was 140 million, not euros, not dollars, pounds. 140 million, 140 million pounds. Holy crap. For Enzo Fernandez would have been a madness. That would be something that Barcelona does. They cannot spend responsibly whenever they go to 1-1, and I surely expect them to do something fucking crazy this summer and keep chasing Julian Alvarez, and which I'm going to get into him next, and maybe offer like 160, 170 for that cat. But I'm glad we backed off this Enzo Fernandez thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll read you just a portion of what they said about Enzo Fernandez. So, in a statement released on Friday, Madrid insisted the club has not taken any steps either directly or indirectly aimed at signing the aforementioned player, and furthermore has no intentions of pursuing such a transfer. Real Madrid wishes to express its utmost respect for Enzo Fernandez, a great footballer whose career and quality are widely known, as well for Chelsea FC, a club with which it maintains an excellent institutional relationship with. That's facts. We already took Cucurella from Chelsea. When's enough? Enough is enough. Like, what are we going to rob them of their entire team? And by the way, Cucurella is a Barcelona academy dude. He even saw the light. He knows that the pinnacle of football is Real Madrid. We only had to whisper in his ear one time, and we basically just got him in our bed, and now he's our player forever. We just kind of fucked Barcelona right where it hurts them, but anyways, that's all I'll talk about with Enzo Fernandez. Thank God we're not getting this cat. I do not think that would work out, and simply, I think if you're going to spend that much money, there's better players out there. If you're going to spend 140 on Enzo Fernandez, line up a 200, 210, 230, $240 million offer for Elise. Get that one done. At least put that one on the table. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. And then Another thing is we haven't been buying players, but we sure as hell have been quietly making a lot of money this summer. If you see in my headline here to the left, Real Madrid has earned 92.5 million this summer by selling players who didn't even play for the club last season. Harry Kane just scored another goal. By the way, he's an incredible player too. Holy crap. England's now up 3-1. What a game. I picked the wrong time to make a video, but Real Madrid generated 92.5 million euros on player transfers, including Nico Paz. They sold him for 60 million. Victor Nunes, who wasn't a player of Real Madrid, I think he was playing for Osasuna, I want to say. He got sold to Liverpool, and because we still had a player rights on him, or a percentage of the player's rights, that we end up getting 20 million euros. None of these, the crazy thing is, none of these players played for Real Madrid last year. This is being business savvy. This is why we are where we're at financially, and Barcelona has been in the shitter for so long. Is we are responsible with our money. Now, do we have the best results on the field right now? Hell no. Have we had the best results on the field the past 15, 20 years, even the past 5 years? Yes, we have, but the past 2 years we've been very bad on the field, but we've always been good with our money, and Barcelona certainly has not. They would never make money like this off player transfers. We're extremely savvy with the buyback and reserving player rights and the sell-on clauses that are in our contracts with players. And then we made another 12.5 million on Mario Gila, who was sold to AC Milan. We've gained $92.5 million of revenue from player transfers this summer. Now, we could easily take that money and spend it on somewhere else. I suggest throw that one in the Elise fund. Let's go get him. This is great business by Real Madrid. That's all I have on the transfer front from them. This video is getting quite long, but I thought I would just at least talk about the Julian Alvarez saga. New things are emerging with him. Diego Simeone reiterates Julian Alvarez is his best player in bid to keep Argentina star at Atletico. So this one really reminds me of a arranged marriage that's going through a really rough time and maybe potentially a divorce. And I have the title of this slide, is the Julian Alvarez saga cooling? So really, like, Julian Alvarez is in an arranged marriage. He doesn't want to be there with Atletico Madrid. He doesn't love them. He loves Barcelona. He's even actively went out and tried to cheat on this marriage, go outside of the bounds of this marriage. He has a contract with them. He's twerked for Barcelona. He's even said his intentions of wanting to play for Barcelona. But at the end of the day, my dude, you are in an arranged marriage. And you even went out and tried to actively cheat on this marriage. But you're under contract, my dude. They can't let go of you. And I feel bad for him. It's not what he wants. But at the end of the day, you are under contract. They don't have to release you. Now, I've heard Barcelona fans saying they will eventually make a deal and we'll get him on a discounted rate. No, you won't. Atletico Madrid does not have to sell this dude. They've even told Barcelona that they didn't want to sell him for any amount of money whatsoever. And you even have the coach now in any bad relationship. Now you have the coach who you could consider being, the spouse in this relationship. And let me pull up this article. Even saying the nicest stuff after your player went out and actively tried to cheat on one of your biggest enemies as well too. So it says, Julian Alvarez, come and get me, plea to Barcelona has backfired. Yeah, it kind of is. It says during an assembly at the Spotify Camp Nou on Wednesday, Barcelona president Juan Laporta was careful and measured. This is the president of Barcelona, as he responded to a query about his club's ongoing campaign to bring Alvarez to Catalonia. Fuck Catalonia, by the way. That is a shitty part of Spain. Why don't you just separate from Spain? You're basically French at this point. But to Catalonia from Madrid, knowing that Atletico de Madrid have just filed a complaint to FIFA and the RFEF about Barcelona's pursuit of their player. Laporta was about as polite and as differential as we've seen him. So Barcelona is starting to back up because they know they've thoroughly pissed off this, relationship between any relationship they had with the club. They thoroughly pissed off the relationship that Atletico Madrid has with Julian Alvarez. This is what the president said. I have a lot of respect for Atletico de Madrid. They received our offer of Alvarez. They told us that They have no plans to sell him because they have no replacement. I told them if they found a replacement, our offer would still be there. We will keep that offer intact as long as we can, but we will not be at the mercy of what Atletico Madrid decides on this matter. They know our intentions, and if they wish to proceed, we would be delighted. They have our utmost respect. This is him just kind of trying to make up for all the bullshit they've put Atletico Madrid through this summer. He said, we have a good relationship both professionally and personally. Do y'all? Do y'all? You tried taking their girl. Like, I mean, you tried stepping into their marriage and stealing basically their most prized possession. But Atletico Madrid is like, Julian Alvarez is our best player. We're not going to get a hotter chick, than them. We have to try to make this work. So, and then it said, the offer that apparently Barcelona put in was 100 million payable over 6 financial years, was already publicly rejected on the 29th. And this is something that Atletico Madrid has stood by. They do not want Barcelona paying in segments. Now, Barcelona has always been broke jokes. They are now in a financially kind of somewhat stable point, but Barcelona has deep debts. I've said this on my channel millions of times, almost as many millions as Barcelona is in debt they hold the largest debt in club football out of any team in the world. It's around 1.5 billion in debt. This institution is in a lot of fucking debt, and now they have made a habit of trying to buy players basically on deferred payments. They are still paying back on players. I've said this on my channel. They're still paying back on Lewandowski. They're still paying back on Mr. Champions League himself, Rafinha, which is a fucking madness calling him Mr. Champions League. That's like calling me Mr. 12-inch cock. That's like calling me the best scorer in the World Cup. That's like calling Lamine Yamal the best player in the World Cup. It's the land of make-believe. Rafinha has never sniffed a Champions League. He never will. He will die not being a Champions League winner. I'll die on a sword on that one. But they're still paying back money on a lot of players. And Atletico Madrid is like, fuck that. If you want to buy this player, you're going to have to pay the cash up front. Can Barcelona do that financially? I have no idea. I certainly think they will. I think this will go over the line, but I think it's going to be for a considerable amount of money. I think it's going to be for 150 at least, if not 160, 170. Atletico Madrid has been firm on that. You ain't getting a discount, boys. You got to pay the money, pay the toll, and you'll get your player. But then I'll finish up on this. This is Diego Simeone. Quotes from him. He said, I ran into Julian on my way to spend a bit of time with him and all that. We chatted for a while, mostly about his current situation, how his ankle is holding up. I guess he has a little bit of injury at the World Cup, and the importance he has for the team, the Atletico Madrid team. He told me he was feeling really good, and he was back to 100%. So you have the coach openly communicating with this guy. And then the coach also said, he's the player around whom, as a club and as a team, we plan to build our game. That's what we've been doing since he arrived, and that's still our way of thinking. His future, above all, is... Oh, I don't even know where the rest of that quote is, but this guy loves Julian Alvarez. Honestly, when a man is talking like that about another man, he's the best player. I think he went on to say Julian Alvarez is one of the top 5 players in the world. Sure, that could be possible. I mean, that's in the realm of possibility. I rate Julian Alvarez very highly. That's for goddamn sure. But if you have a coach talking about this, that he's your best player, that you want to build a team around, do you think that they're going to want to sell Julian Alvarez at a discounted price? Fuck no. You're going to have to pay 150, 160 million euros, and I'd love for it to happen. He would cook at Barcelona, but I want this team to go broke again. That's for sure. I would love it. I'll end the video on that. I hope this has been at least entertaining for y'all. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Help this channel grow. I could talk about Real Madrid and Barcelona all night. I'm going to finish watching this game. It's quite a good one. Mexico is now back in it 2-3. Maybe I'll talk about that in a day or two, the results of this game and or the results of the Spain and Portugal game. So we'll see how it goes. Love y'all. Thanks for watching, and you have a good one. Take care. MadridistaFitz out.